Have you ever heard of Hyperborea? The name sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, and in a way, it is. It comes from ancient Greek myth, describing a perfect, mythical paradise located somewhere in the far north. The name literally means beyond Boreas, and Boreas was the Greek god of the north wind. So, Hyperborea was this magical land beyond the cold winds, a place untouched by winter. Classical writers like Herodotus and Pindar painted a beautiful picture of it. They described a luminous land where the sun shone 24/7. The air was always gentle, and the people lived peacefully. For centuries, it was the ultimate ideal of purity and divine favor, a sort of heaven on earth, hidden at the very edge of the known world. So, how did this story begin? In Greek myth, Hyperborea was deeply connected to the god Apollo. He was the god of light, harmony, and reason. The Hyperboreans were said to be his devoted worshippers. Legend has it that they even helped found his most famous temple at Delphi. And where did Apollo himself spend his winters? You guessed it, among the Hyperboreans. This symbolized the return of light after the darkness of winter, a theme of renewal and hope. From its very beginning, Hyperborea was seen as a place of divine light and eternal spring, a kind of polar Eden. But the story doesn't end there. As centuries passed, the idea of Hyperborea evolved. During the Renaissance, scholars and mystics started looking at these old myths differently. They began to wonder if Hyperborea was a real, ancestral homeland. Some equated it with ancient Scythia, others with the Arctic, and some even connected it to the lost city of Atlantis. By the 19th and 20th centuries, in esoteric movements like Theosophy, Hyperborea took on an even grander meaning. It became the name of a spiritual root race, a highly advanced civilization that existed even before the Atlanteans. In these interpretations, the symbolism was key. The North wasn't just a direction, it represented spirit, divine light, and the very breath of God. This echoes an ancient idea found across cultures, the link between wind and divine inspiration. This is where things get really interesting, as these ideas started to blend with concepts from other traditions. For example, in the Hebrew Bible, the word for wind, ruach, also means spirit. In the book of Genesis, it's the ruach of God, his creative breath, that moves over the waters at the dawn of creation. Some later mystics saw a connection here. They pointed to verses like the one in Song of Songs that says, "Awake, O north wind," and interpreted the north wind as the spirit of God. That brings spiritual revival. Early Christian and Gnostic writers also used directional symbolism. The east represented the resurrection, while the north was sometimes seen as a place of hidden wisdom, or even the location of a heavenly throne, as hinted in Isaiah. This symbolic language paved the way for 18th and 19th century esoteric authors to weave everything together. They merged the myth of Hyperborea, the concept of God's divine breath, and even the figure of Christ into a single, grand narrative. They spoke of a light of the north, or a solar Christ, coming from the spiritual northern realm. The connection is purely allegorical, born from these later mystical interpretations. It's a symbolic story about divine light returning from the north, the realm of the spirit. The north represented the cold, clear air, which was reinterpreted as the spirit of God. Hyperborea, the paradise beyond the world, became the lost homeland of divine origin. And Apollo, the god of light, was seen as a precursor to the idea of Christ as the light of the world. Even today, the idea of Hyperborea continues to inspire. It represents an original, pure, and luminous state of humanity. In Christian terms, you might call it the kingdom of heaven within. So, while Boreas, the north wind, was a Greek god, the legend he inspired has traveled far beyond its origins, becoming a timeless symbol of our search for a spiritual home. Thanks so much for journeying with me to the land beyond the north wind. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe so you won't miss our next adventure.